This. Why is corruption, in your view, so rampant in Nigeria, so systemic in Nigeria today? The Anti-Corruption Monitor Transparency International, which you helped found, it ranks Nigeria as the 38th most corrupt country on earth. That's a disgraceful position to hold, isn't it?
The major cause is the failure of the institutions of the state to function as effectively as they ought to, because of the system of governance that we had.
But the government of President Obasanjo, which you were part of for several years, that was pretty corrupt too, wasn't it? And some would say it was even more corrupt than the military dictatorship of Sani Abacha that came before it. It was as corrupt, at least, as the current government that's been accused of corruption. That was a government you were part of.
I really like empirical evidence. And right now, you don't have any. You just simply assume.
If you look at the Transparency International rankings, they were pretty bad under Obasanjo.
Well, actually,
they didn't really rise radically. They rose and fell.
Well, you're wrong there.
But you reject the idea that the Obasanjo government was as corrupt, or not, if not more corrupt, than governments that came before.
There was no way it could have been more corrupt than the government of Abacha. Okay. I'm sorry.
Can I ask you?
Let's just.
Okay. Well,
let's just agree that you did not even make that statement.
I'm not going to agree. I'll tell you why I don't agree. I don't have empirical evidence, but let's do some eyewitness evidence. Thanks to WikiLeaks, we know that Nuhu Ribadu, the man appointed by former President Obasanjo to head his Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, he told the US ambassador in 2007 that, quote, even more than the Abacha days, where Abacha was the sole thief, corruption under Obasanjo's 8 years was far worse, because everyone stole. No doubt Obasanjo did as well. He added, Oba was a political machine. He just knew how to play the game for the international community and cover his tracks.
The next person you should invite to your show would be Nuhu Ribadu.
You reject his view?
No, it's not about rejecting his view. I don't have counterfactual evidence on the basis of which to reject it.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. What's your response to the corruption chief appointed by President Obasanjo, who says the president who appointed me is more corrupt than the military guy before him? What's your response to that?
My response to that would be, why did you wait until after the fact to
well, actually,
make
he said
that?
During, he just said it in a private conversation, which WikiLeaks then leaked to us all.
Then, that would really question the issue of the institution that was responsible for fighting corruption.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because he was the head of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, which President Obasanjo, who you served under, appointed. You were an advisor to President Obasanjo in 2003 when he set that commission up. 8 years later, Human Rights Watch reported in 2011 that senior political figures who have been widely implicated in corruption have not been prosecuted. Human Rights Watch also noted that the EFCC was selective, dictated at least in part by Obasanjo. Their agenda was dictated by Obasanjo. Do you accept, in hindsight, that that government you were part of, you were basically, no one's ever accused you of corruption personally, but you were basically window dressing for a very corrupt regime? And here today, even today, you won't acknowledge that fact.
Well, I don't know about window dressing. One thing that I was known for was my inability to be an image launderer for anyone. I mean, even the President Obasanjo that you are talking about would tell you that anytime, any day.
Okay, so anytime, any day, this evening, in the Oxford Union, how corrupt was President Obasanjo in your view?
Is that supposed to be a question on the basis of some factual thing that you're putting before me?
I don't have the factual evidence, but you were the woman who worked in government.
Well,
you were nicknamed Madam Due Process.
Well, listen to me, President Obasanjo.
So what did you make of President Obasanjo's record?
Well, my sense of President Obasanjo was that he gave me the freedom to define the work that I did in ensuring that public procurement was more transparent than it used to be.
With respect, if you're not a politician, you should be, because these are not answers to my questions. I asked you, how corrupt is President Obasanjo? How corrupt was he? His corruption chief says he was more corrupt than Sani Abacha.
What
is your view? Little bit less corrupt? Little bit more corrupt?
Well, listen to me. I already said to you that I do not do anything on the basis of anecdotes. I answer my questions. I'm not asking you to give an anecdote. I'm asking you to give your opinion. No.
How corrupt do you think, as a minister in that government, President Obasanjo was? You're Madam Due Process. Tell us.
No. You're not going to make me say that somebody for whom I have...
Well, then you shouldn't really go around saying I don't launder people's images, because you are refusing to comment on a public figure in Nigeria. Many people think he's corrupt. His own corruption chief thinks he's corrupt. Well, you won't tell us whether you think he's corrupt. Did you ever raise the issue of corruption in government about your colleagues? About what your colleagues were doing?
I did. I did. I wasn't popular for that.
Okay.
The issue that is very clear to me is that based on the track record of what happened in that administration, it had serious corruption challenges.
This is great rhetoric. You're saying that government was corrupt, you raised issues, you caused problems, and then I say to you, the person who ran the government, you say no comment. I'm confused as to why you cannot tell us why the former president of Nigeria, who ran, according to you, a corrupt government, you just told us there was lots of corruption in that government, was the president himself corrupt?
Well, now you're really putting words in my mouth. Because, you know, you see, one of the things...
You just told us that there was widespread corruption in the government you were part of.
Of course, I want to know every government has element of corruption. Okay. But don't characterize it in the way you did. Okay. Otherwise, it would be completely different.
Let me rephrase it exactly with these words. The government you were part of, which had elements of corruption, was the president aware of those elements or part of those elements?
He was aware of the elements of corruption, and it was his responsibility to tackle those issues of corruption.
Did he tackle it in your view?
We didn't succeed fully. We didn't succeed fully.
This is in-depth analysis.